All right, hello everybody. Welcome back to the Turbo Makes Games YouTube channel. Let me just make sure I got Matthew here. Welcome back
Yep.
in, Matthew. How's it going?
Howdy. How's it going?
Going
I'm
well,
doing
going
good.
well. Awesome. So yeah, if y'all are just joining us for this stream here, we can just do a quick recap and overview about what we're basically doing this entire weekend. So of course, it's the LudumDare Game Jam this weekend, which takes place once every couple months. And so Matthew and I thought it would be a fun idea to kind of compare the different game engines that we use. So I use Unity's Entity Component System, and Matthew uses the Bevy engine, which uses the Rust programming language. So again, we thought it would be a cool idea to do a friendly competition during this LudumDare game jam, where basically we come up with the same idea for a game, and we both go off on our own and essentially create the basically the same game in our given engines of choice. So that's kind of the overall thing of what we've been doing. We've done a couple of these streams. So the first one was kind of the kickoff stream where we started brainstorming the idea that we wanted to come up with. Then after that, we did a check-in stream yesterday, and then here we are for another check-in stream today, just to kind of showcase our project or our progress. So yeah, how you feeling overall about how things have been going so far?
Oh, I think we're both doing great. Yeah. You were saying before we went live that we're both neck and neck. You know,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
we both have a core gameplay loop down.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It is pretty cool to see that I know that was one of the kind of points of contention at the beginning. We were trying to figure out whose game engine would be faster to implement all the different features and everything like that. But yeah, I mean, as we've been going, we've just been kind of like sharing progress in the over the Turbo Makes Games Discord, and we've been pretty much neck and neck. It seems like you've maybe have been a little bit ahead in a couple places, but we can kind of talk a little bit about the progress.
Sure.
And I just real quick, I see someone in the chat asks, when is Ludum Dare? So Ludum Dare is going on this weekend. So there's kind of two sections of it. So it's basically a game jam where you create a full video game over the course of a weekend. There's two sections of it. So there's kind of the compo, the competitive section, which is 48 hours that you have, and you have to create everything, all art, all code, everything like that. Within that 48-hour period, and you have to work alone. So that will be ending later tonight in just a couple of hours. And then we are participating in the jam section, which is a little bit more relaxed, where basically we have 72 hours, so we have until tomorrow night to submit. And we can use any outside art, AI generated art. We can work with a team of people. You mentioned that your wife was helping you with a little bit of art there as well. So yeah,
Yeah, I have her in the living room drawing me a little pizza delivery boy right now.
nice. So yeah. Anyways, I guess we can. Well, I guess we should probably just mention just real quickly kind of what the high level concept of our game is going to be. So basically, we came up with the idea to make essentially a Vampire Survivors clone. But the theme for the Ludum Dare this year is, or this section, this jam is delivery. So we kind of came up with the idea, play off the delivery theme, and maybe you're doing like a pizza delivery theme or some type of food delivery. And yeah, so basically it's a Vampire Survivors clone, but you play as a pizza delivery guy, and you're using all different sorts of food themed attacks to, basically deal damage, but feed the whatever creatures are in the game. So I'm trying to figure out how I want to play with the lore in that sense.
You still don't have an art style picked out?
It's all spheres and stuff for now, but
Okay.
yeah, I mean, we can kind of talk about the progress and where things are at, and where things are going to be kind of going. But yeah, I guess we can kind of jump into it. I can pull up the Discord here, and I'll just start kind of going through what things you have been working on so far. So of course, join the Turbo Makes Games Discord. We have, I think I have it linked down in the description below, but it's just, you can go there, tmg.dev/discord. It'll bring you right there. And we have a game jam section where Matthew and I have been kind of showcasing our progress throughout this. So I'm going back to kind of where we left off yesterday. Go ahead and share my screen here. That should be it. Okay. So this is kind of where, just real quick, we can just show where we both left off here yesterday. So this is kind of where you had left off, where you basically had, kind of the character moving around. You were able to just have like a real basic, essentially a whip that goes out, attacks the different enemies, and you have kind of your experience progression where you can pick up the little experience points. It starts filling that experience bar up at the top there. So that's kind of where we left off on the stream yesterday. And then since then, we can kind of just going through. So one thing you mentioned, you said you cheated a little bit and you have some tech debt to clean up. Actually, I think that was before the stream yesterday. But have you had kind of any tech debt issues that you've kind of ran into since?
I mean, it's, I guess, proper prototyping. You have to restructure the game to support like pausing and
Yeah,
main
yeah.
menus and stuff. So
Yeah, you
it's,
kind of just do things at first to like make sure it
yeah.
works and it is able to work in the game, and then you can kind of add more kind of complexity and stuff on top.
But it does mean that the rate of progress slows down when you have to actually start adding all of you know, the
Yeah.
important features. Yeah.
So let's see, then we can talk about mine afterwards. You did share your GitHub for this project. Okay, and then so after this, you kind of shared this here, where you do have kind of your leveling system, where you basically the game kind of pauses once you reach the certain experience level, and you can basically pick out your kind of upgrades here. So, how did you implement the game pausing? Was that something difficult for you?
No, so in the most recent version of Bevy, we have, they call them like states. And
Okay,
so for every system, you can say this runs on update in the gameplay state, or this runs on entering the level up state. So I just kind of had to go and sort out all of my systems to be set up to run in the correct state.
okay, okay. And then so basically, there's like a certain state that happens when that upgrade menu is active, and then it kind of stops the like player movement and enemy movement and all that.
Yeah, so when you get the max XP, it like fires an event, basically, that says the whole game is now in the
Oh,
level
okay,
up state.
okay.
Yeah.
And then so those systems just don't run in that state, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
That's, yeah, part of Bevy's way of scheduling when systems run.
Okay, I
So,
like that. I like that. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about how I did the pausing of things later on, but that was kind of funny here. So let's see.
yeah.
You also showcased another one here. I think this might be where you're actually, yeah, you actually have some upgrades. So you kind of have like your different health upgrades and attack upgrades and all that. So how did you kind of start off by making the upgrading system?
So, okay. The system has a few parts. First up, there's an enum, which is all of the different upgrades in the game, which is the same as C# enums for this
Yeah,
purpose.
yeah.
And then the that enum's also a component. So when you click on a button, that button has the upgrade component attached to it. And then I have different systems that run based on which button you clicked, pretty much. So which variant of the enum you clicked runs like a health upgrade system or a whip upgrade system. And those can,
Gotcha. Gotcha.
we can show more of the actual implementation after the jam, but that's pretty much the idea.
Okay.
Is it's events and they send different variants.
Gotcha. And so are those different variants so you can kind of have like different upgrades for the weapons? Because I know one thing that was a little bit complicated for me is that we see like in Vampire Survivors, not every upgrade is the same. It's not like you're just like linearly adding, attack damage to your weapon. Like you can add
Yeah.
attack damage, you can have it be like a more effective radius. You can spawn multiple whips and all different types of things. So um,
So I have that. For the first two whips, it'll spawn one whip, then a second whip, and then after
right,
that, it just exponentially scales damage.
gotcha,
So in
gotcha.
the whip upgrade system, I just count how many whips are in the game, pretty much. On the query, I just do a count on the number of entities that match.
Okay.
And if there's only one, you spawn a second one.
Gotcha. So it is a little bit kind of hacky there.
Yeah, kind of janky, but
good enough for a
know,
game
it
jam
works.
to like get the point across where you can,
I
upgrade
could also
your.
send with the upgrade like what level it is, but then I have to make a whole table of different level ups and
Yeah, that's kind of what I
I,
started getting into, and that's why things got a little bit complicated. And yeah, we'll show my ridiculous mess of a upgrade system when we get to that.
I decided
Um,
I'd rather have 5 simple attacks than 2 like elegantly designed attacks because I think the fun is having more variety
yeah,
over,
yeah, I
you know,
agree. I agree.
yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Moving on. Okay, so I did also find this. We weren't the first people to create a game called Pizza Survivors. So there was, I guess there was a pizza game jam that happened a while ago, where they made this game called Pizza Survivor. I'll go ahead and just drop this in the
So,
chat here.
so I think you're not playing fair. You keep sending me all kinds of distractions. I
Oh
had to
yeah, I was
play
gonna say
Pizza Survivor.
I think yeah, we're we got you hooked on Vampire Survivors for sure.
I did. I haven't told Madeline yet, but I actually went into Steam and I bought it with all the DLCs.
It's a good one, right? It's a good game, right?
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. It's it's like an addiction machine. It's,
Seriously,
I had
seriously.
her play around and she hates, games like that, but she kept mashing next round or try again.
Nice.
So, so you picked a good one to clone.
Yeah. No, I've just I kind of had wanted to make a clone of this for a little while, and I just kind of like recently started playing it. I'm like, you know what? I think now might be a good time for this.
And it's very like approachable. It's not like we're trying to clone some super polished game.
Yeah,
It
totally.
feels
It
it
feels
feels
like it
like a
was,
game jam
yeah,
game.
originally made in a game jam. Exactly.
Yeah. Which, isn't an insult. I'm sure they've made a lot of money off of it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, no, I definitely had to take a little detour to play Pizza Survivor myself yesterday too.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. And then you said you called it a little bit of an early night. You were just kind of working on your structuring upgrade system, and then you're kind of happy with it. Anything else on the upgrade system before we get into your next videos here?
No, I as hacky as it is, I think I actually really like it. Now that I've added a few more attacks to it, I think it scales pretty nice. So, you know.
Right on, right on. So yeah, then we have your update from this morning. Next weapon just dropped a bullet that shoots at the closest enemy. Also added a placeholder backgrounds. My wife just texted me ramen noodle whip, so I might get some art tonight. Nice.
Yeah. She went on a hike this morning and apparently was inspired to come home and, you know,
Like a ramen noodle whip. I love it. So yeah,
yeah.
you have um, a new weapon here where it basically just shoots at the closest enemy, right?
Yeah, so it just um, queries over the enemies and finds the one that's closest to you, and then
Is
sets as the direction of the bullet.
is there anything specific that you're doing to find the closest enemy? Like, is there something built into the physics system that allows you to easily locate the closest one, or do you just have to loop through all of them and do distance checks?
So it is functionally just looping through and doing distance checks, but Rust has a lot of functional inspirations in it. So it's like for our queries, you can just iterate over them and then do like a min by key. So you give it a delegate or a lambda function, I
Hmm.
guess, to say get the minimum
Oh, okay.
distance.
Okay. So it still
Yeah,
has to go through each enemy and calculate a distance, but it's
it's a
easy
loop.
to do that. Like you don't have to manually.
It's higher level functional
Sure.
stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, but it is just a for loop, and you could write the for loop in the same amount of time.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Nice. One other thing I was going to ask you about the upgrade system. So, like in Vampire Survivors, basically you get like random different upgrades. Like it's not always kind of the same ones. Do you have any of that kind of randomization built in, or is that something you're planning on doing?
I'm going to add it. There is a way in Rust to get a random enum variant that I know. And so I have my upgrade set as those enums. And that
Right.
basically ties everything together. That tells what text appears on the button and stuff. So I just need to select a random one from the table.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have that, and then okay, so then this is you adding in basically an area of effect attack, right? That just kind of randomly goes somewhere on the screen and just does like a area effect damage. Is that right?
Yeah. So it's just I guess Santa water or something in
Yeah,
Vampire
yeah.
Survivor. Yeah. So I haven't, figured out the theming for that one yet, but it's just a different kind of attack to program in.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, no, it looks good. Do you, and then actually, well, I'll
And the
just
hitbox for that is actually a circle. The square is just because that's an easy placeholder
easy to
sprite
show
for
it.
me.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
let me see. You've
for
been
the
playing
last one,
Vampire Survivors for 74 minutes.
yep,
Okay, and then yeah, here's the last one here. So let's
I
see
had
what is going on here. Oh, you have some
some damage text
damage
popping up.
text. Yeah,
So I finally made my own world space UI system
nice.
and ignore the area of effects printing out 0 every
Yeah.
frame. I need to
So
set it
does
up
it?
to work
So
with damage over time.
okay. So does that like actually kind of is it like dealing 0 damage essentially to those different?
No, all my damage are floating point numbers, but when I fire an event pretty much to do damage to an enemy,
Mm-hmm.
and when I'm printing it out, I don't just show 2.19782. I just round it, and for every frame it rounds to 0.
I see. I see.
Yeah. So it's
Okay.
it's actually
Because
doing
you're
tiny
dealing
bits of
damage
damage,
each frame.
but yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
But so I'll
Nice.
have
So
to
that's
figure out like how to count it up and display it only when it gets up to 1 or something.
yeah. Are you using the Comic Sans font?
No, it's
It kind of looks
some
like it though, doesn't it?
it probably is. It's called Point Free, which is an unlicensed like public domain font that I use sometimes.
Okay. Yeah, and this is like looking good right here. I mean, this is like pretty much the basic, Vampire Survivors gameplay right here. Like you have,
Yeah.
everything that you need. You got enemies coming in. Oh, so right now are your enemies like are they procedurally being spawned in or did you just manually put a bunch of them in the world?
So I have a wave manager that every second it spawns a different like set of enemies.
Okay.
Right now it's just like periodically spawning a bundle of 3 of them off screen, but at some point I'm hoping to actually have it, move for different tiers of enemies and make
Yeah,
them
yeah.
stronger over
So you can
time.
have different kind of types and stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Different amounts and all that. Cool.
Cool.
And then so anything else you've been working on outside of this so far?
I mean, I'm trying to only do things that I can, showcase.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, for sure.
at some point I'll have to, set up a start menu and all the horrible
All the fun
stuff.
stuff. Yep.
I
um,
think.
and then so what are you doing for? Um, I totally forgot. Oh, what are the next things that you're going to be working on?
Um, I think the enemies. So I have variety in my weapons now. So it's time to get some variety in the different enemies.
Okay, that's smart.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as far as
That's,
enemy or as far as your own player attacks, do you feel like you're at a pretty good spot with them right now, and then we'll probably add some later, kind of if you have time, or are there for sure some other ones that you want to get in?
so that's actually the complaint I have about Vampire Survivor as a game jam game. Is it so a lot of the fun is the amount of content,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know? So it's like tempting to have 10 different kinds of attacks and 20 kinds of enemies. So I'm just gonna, I guess, alternate back and forth between more enemies and more attacks. Yeah. And of
Nice.
course, any particles. A big part of Vampire Survivor is the absurd number of particles.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Gotta have some good particles and good feedback effects and all that.
Yeah, sound effects, music.
Indeed.
So I might do a few enemies and then do a round of polish and see where that gets us.
Sounds like a good plan to me.
Cool.
All right, so I can kind of go into some of my stuff here. So just kind of going through the Discord. So yesterday, one thing that I did was I kind of got my basically experience system kind of in place. You see that I basically have kind of like a bar at the top that goes through tracking all the experience. And when you get close to any of these coins, they'll kind of basically pull towards you, and then that's how you kind of gain the experience in this. So right now, the first step was just to kind of like get the player kind of accumulating experience. And then after that was time to actually go ahead and get like an upgrade menu system type set up. So we can see here that, basically we can kind of skip ahead a little bit where I'm actually gaining experience. And then, so once I have enough experience, then we actually kind of go to the pause menu. You'll see that up at the top, I kind of have the experience bar do the little kind of like flashy wave thing that it does in the game.
That was nice.
Yeah. And then, basically you can kind of pick your upgrades. So at first, of course, I just kind of had some placeholders, so the upgrades weren't actually doing anything. It would basically just kind of like dismiss the menu and kind of bring you back to the main gameplay here. But I did showcase how I paused the game, and it was actually just something super silly and hacky where basically I just grabbed the simulation system group and disabled it. So then any systems that were inside the simulation system group would no longer be active, basically. So that was just an easy way to just disable all Unity's built-in physics stuff and any input systems that I've created, or any of the capabilities. If they're moving around and doing things, that just all stops updating.
But you can make your own system groups as well, right?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
cool.
So yeah, I do have like one of my own kind of nested system groups in there.
Cool. That's one benefit that I have is my UI is tied in and done in ECS style as well. So there's no back and forth to get like the XP bar working. I can just put normal components on it.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So let's see. Yeah, and then kind of started getting into a little bit about how I wanted to get the upgrade system to work. So here's just like a video kind of showcasing what I have for kind of how the upgrade system works. So you can see, skip to about like halfway through, I think is where we actually get the upgrade. So right now I just basically made this cheese cheese whip where basically you'll see every once in a while it just kind of spawns this cheese whip out there, and then when it upgrades, then you kind of have the two whips going on. This ended up being quite complicated to figure out how I wanted to get it to work. And I'll get into that in just a moment. Let me see if there's anything else that I wanted to showcase. Oh yeah, so the other thing is I switched from, I previously had all the different abilities were collisions rather than triggers, and that just kind of caused some kind of wonky-ish physics interactions. So basically I switched them over to triggers now, so then they can kind of pass through the different entities, but I also am like manually applying a little bit of a knockback as well. So they kind of still react to the capabilities, but they there's just not weird physics glitches happening, basically.
I might steal that from you. I actually kind of like how it looks in your game.
Yeah, no, it ended up working well. So, and luckily it wasn't too difficult to switch from colliders to triggers. So let's see, I did not share anything else there. Okay, so we can kind of get into how I have this whole upgrade system set up. So actually, I'll just go ahead and just play it real quick just to kind of showcase what I have going on here. So basically I just have a couple experience points just dropped around the world because you don't start with anything. But I think what I'm going to end up doing is I might even be able to like put in like a character selection screen essentially, where you can like
Ooh.
kind of choose what weapon or what player you want to start with, kind of thing. And then it basically just does one upgrade behind the scenes automatically that just kind of like puts you to the first level of that thing.
I was I was planning to do about the same thing, but give you a random one to start.
Oh, okay, that'd be fun
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
But yeah, so anyways, I have three basically different attacks that are available so far. I had a little bit of fun with Chat GPT figuring out some silly names for different weapons. So I
Oh,
won't surprise all, or I won't spoil the surprise for all the ones that I came up with. But the three that I have implemented are Marinara Maelstrom, Sausage Slingshot, and Cheese Whip.
nice. I like it.
Yeah. So I can just kind of go through these here. So cheese whip, I've kind of like showcased already, but basically it just kind of spawns a whip. And I do have it set so you kind of like whatever kind of like facing like left, right, like the last left, right facing direction that you're in, it goes. It's the same thing about how Vampire Survivors works basically. And then when that one ends up getting upgraded, actually I probably shouldn't have done that one first because I have the attack set super low right now. But when that one ends up being upgraded, then you have the ability to like it spawns two of them kind of thing. And yeah, let me just start over and show the other ones here. So we'll do this, and then so yeah, here's the sausage slingshot. So the sausage slingshot is similar to the knife ability, where it basically just shoots out a sausage, basically just whichever way you're facing. So in any of the 8 directions that you're facing. So this is one that I kind of had in before. I think I just need 2 more experience points here. Come on,
Hmm.
one more. Okay, and then the Marinara Maelstrom. This one's going to be similar to how like the Fireball works, where it basically just spawns in like a random rotation, essentially. So this is the one
Okay.
that I was just implementing like right before we went live here. I like literally just finished this up, how this all works. So again, it is kind of nice just kind of having this modularity of the different abilities, that there's just a lot of kind of shared components between them, and I can kind of build these out a little bit better. Um, so let me see, and then yeah, I think we can kind of just like get into how I have all this set up, because it is a little bit ridiculous here. So I do kind of have, I basically was like putting together like a essentially a document that I need to follow to like create a new attack here.
I almost need that. I'm like copying and pasting functions and having to change
Yeah,
random
yeah.
names. Yeah.
No, I'm sure there's a better way to go about this, but so basically what I have is I have a scriptable object. Are you at all familiar with the concept of scriptable objects?
Yeah, that's actually something that we don't have in Bevy that I really want.
Yeah, no, they're great. So yeah, for if anyone isn't familiar, basically it's just like kind of an asset where we can store just basically static data on there essentially. So you see that I've created these scriptable objects that basically contain kind of like the upgrade, essentially upgrade properties for each of these things. So for example, here's the cheese whip. You'll see that the name is called cheese whip. We can also set the icon, so like whatever icon that we want to display on our upgrade menu. So those are going to be shared there, shown there. And then I have basically a array of descriptions. So then basically at each level that you're at, it can have a new unique description for what that level upgrade does essentially. So you'll see that I've created a scriptable object for each of the different attacks I have. One for the cheese whip, one for the marinara maelstrom, and one for the sausage slingshot. Um, we have those all set up, and then so then yeah, I kind of have we have to go to like say the menu canvas, and then I have a reference to these down here, where you see there's kind of the different elements here. So I'm just gonna kind of populate this list, and then I think at some point I can just kind of like randomly select one of these, and then that kind of like determines which upgrades you have displayed for that given level.
Okay, so
Um,
that's almost one for one what my upgrade enum is.
Yeah. It's
I
just
have
I'm
to,
storing it in a scriptable object rather than an enum.
yeah, and I have to do like functions to return the different strings for the different variants. I don't have
Yeah,
the nice inspector create instances. Yeah,
exactly. So
cool.
then, yeah, going into kind of some of the code that I have set up here. So basically, I have this like, so here's the example for the sausage slingshot properties. So this has basically the number to spawn, like how many of these are we going to spawn? Are we going to spawn one? Are we going to spawn five? What's the base hit points? How much damage does it deal? What are the time between spawns? So is it going to be like if I'm spawning five of them, do I want to spawn them like all at the same time, or should there be like a half-second delay between each of them? We just have a timer to keep track of that, and then also a number that we've already spawned, so we can just spawn the correct number.
That's almost exactly what I have as well.
Yep.
It is a little complex to have like the bullet entities, the spawner entities, the upgrades. Like there is like a chain there
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
have to
There's
follow.
definitely is a little bit of a chain here. So then the next thing I do, this is where things will probably start to differ a little bit. So we call this the oh, so here's the sausage slingshot. This is an upgrade listener. So this upgrade listener, so this is a Unity mono behavior. The base class is basically, and then so this has a reference to the upgrade element, which is that scriptable object that we created. And then basically, when the game runs, we essentially register this upgrade listener with that scriptable object. And then basically, through some complexity, when we click the upgrade button, it calls a function on the scriptable object to call the upgrade weapon on this upgrade listener, if that makes sense. So it's just kind of like a little bit of a custom event system using Unity scriptable objects just to basically
Yeah.
make that link between what we're clicking on and then, a specific upgrade type here. So this is basically kind of like the base class that I have set up. And then, so for each weapon type, it has like its own essentially listener. And this is where we define what specifically we need to do for that upgrade. So basically, what happens here is so on level one, basically the first level, when like say before the first level, the player doesn't have that weapon, doesn't have that ability. When we upgrade to level one, what it does is actually creates a new entity which has those basically the properties, the initial like the attack properties on it, and then we can go ahead and set up all our timers and everything like that. So then what ends up happening is so this basically creates the entity at level one, and then level two, level three, we're basically just setting the data to be just different values, and sometimes we can add on more functionality if we wanted to, but we're basically just at each level we're just just modifying the data on that particular entity, right?
So when you go to level 2 whip, that's sharing the same whip entity for both sides of the attack?
Yes. So there's basically a whip entity that spawns the actual whip entities.
Ah, okay. The
So
attack.
this is like, yeah, this is basically
Yeah.
just a data only entity that doesn't live anywhere in the world. It's just kind of its own thing to basically keep track of that timer of when it needs to spawn attacks,
Okay.
right?
That's what I do for everything except the whip. For me, I have two actual whips that have the collider hitbox
Okay.
associated with the same entity.
Yeah.
So I'd
And then
only be
so we
limited
can,
to
yeah,
one
then I
collider
can
for
kind of
each.
show you that part here. So that's the spawn capability system. So this is going to be a little bit of a monolithic system here, just saying. But basically what happens is whenever, so I have another system that basically just runs all the timers, right? When that timer says, it's up, we need to spawn the capability, do the attack or whatever, it basically enables a flag. And then this is the system that kind of interprets that here. So then basically all what this is doing is it's just checking to see, does this entity have the cheese whip properties? Does this entity have the sausage slingshot properties? Does this one have the marinara maelstrom properties? If it has any of those, it basically just runs through its list of things to say, spawn that particular, like the actual attack into the world at, whatever given position that it needs. So, again, like for the cheese whip, it's going to, calculate, which side of the player it should spawn on. For the sausage slingshot, it basically just looks at the player's position and rotation. That one's super easy. Marinara maelstrom, we basically just get the player's position, calculate a random rotation, and then just apply those and spawn them into the world, basically.
I can't actually see the code that you're sharing.
Yeah.
So
It's just a lot of
trying to listen along.
Messy junk anyways. You're not missing out on much. And then then I just kind of have some prefab references that I need to set up in the scene as well. Oh, and then real quick, I can just show you kind of for my upgrade listener. So I have this upgrade controller, and then this has each of those upgrade listeners on them. So for basically each attack, I have a different class that's on there, and then I just link over the scriptable object for cheese whip, sausage slingshot, marinara maelstrom, and all that. And that is basically how I do that. So it is a little bit of a mess, but gets the job done. And again, because I'm just doing all the upgrades through code, I can just kind of do whatever I want with the different upgrades. So it's nice.
So did I understand that right? That all of your different weapon spawnings happen all in one system, and that was the giant function you're going through?
Yeah.
Okay. So I do have that broke out in mine. So I think I have you a little bit beat on the code cleanliness there.
Yeah. It's again, it's just, I'm sure there's a better way to go about doing this, but
it's a 72-hour game jam.
Exactly. Yeah, and you can see there's a lot of repeated code between these different things, but that's totally fine.
No, I have it broke out into different systems, but they are 6 copies of the exact same code with just the names changed pretty much.
Yeah. Okay, so I figured maybe I'll just kind of see, there were some people in chat here. Let's see if anyone has anything they want to hang out and chat about. We can kind of do so before we wrap up here. So how we're going to add the theme to the game, I think we've kind of talked about this a little bit, but again, the theme is delivery. And so kind of our initial idea was that you were kind of like a pizza delivery guy, and so kind of all the vampire survivor themed attacks are all going to be kind of themed around pizza. So I just kind of started naming mine so far, but I think when we get to the point where we start building out the content a little bit more, I want to actually have some better looking art that's not just like the regular grid box prototype materials, but like have some actual sprites and stuff done like that, and that's kind of what you're thinking as well, right?
Yeah, so I'm still doing mine as a college campus where you're doing like the lunchtime rush trying to deliver food to people.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have deans, professors, students, sorority girls charging you in waves, and you have to fend them off with tacos and pizzas.
Awesome. Yeah. I love it.
And I guess a ramen noodle whip.
You should think of some silly names for all the different attacks too.
ChatGPT, we're programmers. We can outsource the creativity to
I will say it did return a whole lot of trash, but there were some gems and a couple things in there that at least sparked some other ideas that I came up with based off of those.
I also return a whole lot of trash, so I can't fault it.
Fair. fair. So let's see. So what's the performance of Bevy versus Unity ECS? That's kind of hard to say, especially at this point. I mean, you know, it really depends on the different things that you're making, but I think what we're doing right now is kind of an interesting thing that we're basically making the same game. So I mean, it's still probably not really going to be much of a one-to-one comparison because the way that we're kind of going about doing things might be a little bit different. But I think it'll give us like an interesting kind of comparison, and I guess we'll kind of see when we get to the point where we're like scaling up to high entity counts. What those performance numbers start looking like. Do you have any thoughts?
When are we planning on doing our post show? So you want to do that Tuesday, or are you hoping to do it right after we hit publish?
I mean, I probably would be available after we hit publish.
So you don't. Okay, I can
just
do it
to do
Monday night.
Quick little wrap up. Yeah.
Well, because I was thinking you wanted to discuss performance, and so we could do that then.
Yeah.
And I can
that sounds
actually
good to me. Pull up
I
a
can run some
profiler
profiles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think we actually both have similar profiling tools.
Yeah.
So we can probably one for one compare like spawn 1,000 entities and see how it works. And neither one of us are writing code to be like the dream performances.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
These are both very naive implementations.
No, I totally agree. Yeah, it's you don't have a whole lot of time to think about the architecture or anything. It's just kind of like I have an idea and I know one way to do this, and that's going to be the way that I'm going to do it.
But that I think is part of the fun of we're hoping ECS just gives you the performance.
Exactly.
And you don't have to get in there and engineer out the cache misses. Should do pretty well just because the engines are so powerful.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that was what someone else said. Well, what's the point of using dots when you don't have thousands of enemies? LOL. Well, hopefully we will get to that point. I think, again, we're making a Vampire Survivors game, and you get to the point where there's lots and lots of enemies on the screen. So I think it'll be fun when we get to that point.
I still claim that writing high-performant code is just being a good citizen. It'll run better on weaker machines. On mobile, it has better battery life. You want your code to be high performance. That's I don't know if you've seen Casey Muratari.
Yeah, absolutely. On
Twitter.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I don't agree with everything he says, but the idea of writing high performant code is just being a good citizen in the world. You're putting less CO2 out of it.
Right.
My computer uses less power, So
yeah, no, I completely agree.
I don't believe you always have to max out 100% of every CPU.
Yeah. So let's see what else we have. Yeah, the cheese whip is maybe a little bit of an odd one out, but I don't know. I haven't been able to think of a better name for the cheese whip ability.
None of mine really feel like I'm delivering food.
The other alliterations that I have are they're good. We'll leave it there for now. So yeah, the game is technically running on Unity 3D. I don't know if that would be much of a performance hit, versus using Unity 2D, but I don't know.
Yeah, we won't compare like just raw frame times. We'll probably get in and look at like more individual systems because both our engines will have some baseline that isn't our fault that we can't get around.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Do you have anything else you want to share for now, or are we good to?
My stomach's growling. I'm ready to go eat.
Yeah, exactly. Might be time for a little bit of a break, and I think for me, I'm just gonna keep just adding content, and then tomorrow's gonna be lots of polish, making sure everything works, getting all the menus and all the boring stuff in there that's kind of needed. But I mean, I figure probably maybe we can just do the wrap up stream tomorrow.
I don't know if I want to do a 2 p.m. show with a deadline of
What's the deadline?
7?
Fast approaching. Yeah.
So, but should be fun.
Indeed. Well, yeah, this has been an exciting experiment so far. So thank you everybody for joining us on our little live stream check-in today. We'll hopefully see y'all back tomorrow evening when we do kind of our submission, and we can basically kind of showcase each other's games, play them a little bit on stream, just kind of give our initial kind of post-mortem thoughts after the game. And then once again, we're probably going to be doing something maybe a little bit more in-depth and polished in future videos on our channels later on. But yeah,
I'll definitely be making a whole hardcore video on my channel about my design.
Yeah. No, this has been a fun project, so I definitely want to showcase it as much as I can for other stuff as well.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Have a good one, and we'll see you tomorrow.
See ya.